there was one song. For a man who sang hundreds, maybe thousands of songs, that seems strange. He recorded so many hits. He sang rock and roll that changed the world. He sang gospel that could lift the roof off a church. He sang ballads that could break your heart. He seemed to do it all so easily. The voice was a gift. It was pure, powerful, and seemed to come from a place most people can't reach. But there was this one song. It wasn't one of his early hip-shaking hits. It wasn't a simple love song from one of his movies. This one was different. It came later in his life. It came during the years of the big concerts, the big arenas, the jumpsuits, and the orchestra. This song was as big as he was. It was an event every time he sang it. The crowd would go quiet. They knew something important was about to happen, and he loved it. He chose to sing it. Night after night, he poured everything he had into it, his soul, his history, his beliefs. It was more than just a song. It was a statement. It was a story. But he never felt he got it right. Not really, not perfectly. People who were close to him, the musicians who stood on stage with him, they heard him talk about it. He would come off stage drenched in sweat, having just given a performance that left thousands of people stunned and crying. And he would shake his head, he'd say something was missing, a note was off, the feeling wasn't quite there, he didn't capture it, how could that be? We have the recordings. We can watch the videos. The performances look and sound monumental. They are breathtaking. For most people, his version of this song is the only version that matters. It feels perfect. It feels definitive. So why did he feel that way? What was it about this one particular piece of music that made him feel like he was always falling short? To understand that, you have to understand the man, and you have to understand the song itself. Let's first think about Elvis the musician. Not the icon, not the movie star, not the king. Just the singer. He grew up poor in Mississippi. He was surrounded by music. He soaked it all in. He heard the blues singers on the street. He went to church and heard the power of gospel choirs. He listened to country music on the radio. He heard it all, and he absorbed it. He didn't just like music, he studied it. He understood it on a deep level. His own talent was immense. He had a 3-octave range. He could sing with gritty power or with a soft, gentle touch. He had perfect pitch. He could hear a song once and know how to sing it, how to phrase it, how to make it his own. Well, he was a natural, but he was also a hard worker. In the recording studio, he would do take after take. He wasn't lazy. He would keep going until he felt it was right. He was a perfectionist. He cared deeply about the final product, so when this man, this gifted and dedicated musician, feels he can't nail a song, it means something. It wasn't just a bad mood, it was a genuine artistic struggle. Now, think about the time in his career. This was the 1970s. He was back on top. After years of making movies, he had returned to live performing. And he was huge. Bigger than ever. He wasn't the young rebel anymore. He was an American institution. He filled stadiums. He had a huge band, an orchestra, and a team of backup singers. His shows were spectacles. He could have just played his old hits. People would have loved it. But he wanted to do more. He was a mature artist now. He wanted to sing songs that had more weight, more meaning, and he found the song. Or rather, he found a version of it by a country singer and decided to make it his own. The song itself is a challenge. It's not just one song. It's 3 songs woven together. It's a medley. And the 3 songs it combines are not simple pop tunes. They are heavy. They carry the weight of American history. One part is an old song from the South. A song that is deeply connected to the Civil War, to a sense of place, of pride, of loss. It's a beautiful melody, but it's also complicated. It means different things to different people. For some, it represents heritage. For others, it represents a painful history of division and conflict. To sing that song in the 1970s, a time of great social change and struggle, was a bold move. You had to mean it. Another part of the medley is a song from the other side of that same war. It's a northern anthem, a marching song. It's full of fire and religious imagery. It's about truth and justice and glory. It's the sonic opposite of the first song. One is nostalgic and sad, the other is powerful and triumphant. They represent 2 sides of a divided nation. And then in the middle, bridging these 2 warring anthems, is a third piece. This one is different. It's a spiritual, a simple, quiet folk song. The lyrics are about trials, about suffering, about the hope for peace in the next life. It's the human heart of the medley. It's the prayer that holds the whole thing together. So, you can start to see the problem. This isn't just a song you sing, it's a piece of theater. It's a historical drama in 3 acts that lasts about 4 minutes. To perform it, a singer has to become a storyteller, a preacher, a historian. You have to embody all of those conflicting emotions, the pride of the South, the righteousness of the North, the deep, weary soulfulness of the spiritual. You have to hold all of that together at the same time. The musical arrangement itself was massive. It would start quietly, often just a lone flute playing a sad, beautiful melody. It was the sound of memory. Then his voice would come in, soft and low. He would sing the first part with a gentle longing. He wasn't being aggressive, he was being reflective, he was acknowledging a part of his own history, his own southern roots. Then the mood would shift. The drums would kick in with a military rhythm. The orchestra would swell. He would move into the second song, the battle anthem, and his voice would change. It would grow stronger, more declarative. The backup singers would join in, like a choir. It was a powerful wave of sound. And then, just as the energy reached its peak, it would all drop away. Silence. And he would sing the spiritual. His voice would become tender again. It was a moment of vulnerability, a confession of weakness and hope. It was the emotional core of the performance. Finally, he would bring it all home. He would reprise the battle anthem, but this time even bigger. The orchestra would be at full blast, the choir would be soaring, and he would hold that final, impossibly long, powerful note. It was a climax that would leave everyone breathless. He would finish often dropping to one knee, head bowed, the cape spread out like the wings of an eagle. It was pure drama. So why did he think it was imperfect? Maybe the challenge was technical. The song requires incredible breath control. You have to go from a near whisper to a full-throated roar and back again. You have to navigate complex melodic shifts. Maybe on some nights he felt his breath wasn't quite there for the final note. Maybe a transition from one section to the next felt clumsy to him, even if the audience never noticed. Remember, he was a perfectionist. He would notice a flaw no one else could hear. But I think it was deeper than that. I think the imperfection he felt was emotional. How do you perfectly capture the soul of a nation in one song, especially a nation as complex and divided as America? How do you sing a song about unity, using the very songs that once tore the country apart? To sing it right, you couldn't just sing the notes, you had to believe in the message. The message was one of healing, the song was an attempt to take these broken pieces of American history and forge them into something new, something whole. It was saying, yes, we have this painful past, we have this division, but we also have this shared faith, this shared hope, and we can come together. That is a heavy burden for one singer to carry. Maybe he felt that to sing it perfectly, he had to truly feel all of it. He had to feel the southern nostalgia of the first part without endorsing the painful history attached to it. He had to feel the righteous fury of the second part without it sounding jingoistic or hollow. And, most importantly, he had to truly connect with the humble, prayerful spirit of the middle section. Perhaps, for him, perfection meant achieving a state of grace through the song. And that's not something you can just summon on command night after night in Las Vegas or any other city. Some nights, he might have felt he was just going through the motions. He was hitting the notes, the performance was powerful, but he didn't feel that true, deep connection. He didn't feel he had successfully bridged the gap. The feeling of imperfection came not from a flaw in his voice, but from a perceived flaw in his soul. Think about his own life. He was a Southerner. The first song was in his blood. He grew up in the church. The spiritual was in his blood, too. He was also a patriot who had served in the army. So the anthem was part of his identity. All three pieces of the song were inside of him, but they were probably in conflict inside of him, just as they were in the country. Maybe singing the song was his way of trying to resolve his own internal conflicts about his identity, his home, and his country. And maybe he felt he never quite could. There's also the audience to consider. He was singing to the entire country. In his audience, there were people from the North and the South, and there were people who had lived through the Civil Rights Movement, the Vietnam War. The country was wounded. He stood on that stage and tried to be a healer. He offered this song as a kind of prayer for the nation. That's an incredible amount of pressure. He wasn't just an entertainer anymore. He was taking on the role of a spiritual leader, and in that role, the standard for perfect is impossibly high. How can a human being ever perfectly articulate the hopes and pains of millions of people? Well, it's an impossible task, so of course he always felt he fell short. It's ironic because his struggle is what makes the performances so powerful. When you watch him sing it, you see the effort, you see the concentration, you see him reaching for something. He isn't just singing, he is wrestling with the song. He is wrestling with the ideas inside it. And that struggle, that visible effort to achieve something transcendent is what makes it so compelling. A truly slick, easy, perfect performance might not have had the same emotional impact. His humanity is what we connect to. The fact that he found it difficult is what makes it feel so important. The most famous performance of this song was broadcast live via satellite to over 1 billion people around the world. It was a massive global event. He was in Hawaii in that famous White Eagle jumpsuit. He was representing America to the world, and this was the song he chose to be the centerpiece of that show. He didn't choose a rock and roll song. He chose this difficult, complex, and profound statement about his home country. On that night, the performance was incredible. It was technically brilliant and emotionally devastating. To anyone watching, it was the definition of perfect. But you have to wonder, when he walked off that stage after that global triumph, did he shake his head? Did he still feel like he missed it? Maybe the whole idea of a perfect performance was a moving target. Maybe what he was chasing was not something that could ever be caught. The song is about a journey through conflict towards a hope for peace. Maybe for him, the performance was always about the journey, not the destination. Every night was another step on that journey, and so it could never be finished. It could never be perfect. It's a beautiful and sad thought. The king of rock and roll, the man who had everything, the most famous entertainer in the world, felt inadequate in the face of this one song. It reveals a humility and an artistic integrity that often gets lost in the stories about his later years. He wasn't just cashing in, he was still striving. He was still reaching for something beyond his grasp. In the end, he was probably right. He never did sing it perfectly, no one could. The song's theme is the struggle for a more perfect union. It's a goal you strive for but never fully achieve. The song is about an ideal, and an ideal by its very nature is always just out of reach. The song's power comes from that striving, and his performance's power came from his own personal, lifelong striving. He gave it everything he had every single time, and in doing so, he left us with a series of beautifully imperfect attempts at capturing the soul of his country. And that is more moving and more honest than any single sterile, perfect take could ever be. The flaws he saw were, in fact, the heart of the performance. They were the sound of a man trying, with all his might, to heal a nation's wounds with nothing but his voice. The song was an American trilogy.